open tonight with a question. How many of you have ever met a famous person? How many of you have ever met someone that is legit famous? Someone give me some names of some famous people that you've met. Who? John Cena. All right, John Cena. What else we got? Some famous people. Raise your hands. Who? Tyler Kennedy. Colton Dixon, Skillet. Dude Perfect. All right. Newsboys. All right. Kevin Hart. Oh, everyone at the same time was like, ooh. Everybody just got real jealous real fast. Michael Knight. Who else? Anybody else? Anyone else? Yes. Your brother got knocked over by a famous wrestler. He's 5. Oh, that's great. Cool. Knocking over 5-year-olds. He was like, boom. No, I'm just kidding. You shouldn't kick 5-year-olds like that. That's not cool. Anybody else? Famous people that you have met? Yes. Colton Dixon. And the dude from King and Country. What's his name? Joel Smallbone. All right, from King and Country. Okay, that's awesome. Now, I've met a few famous people in my life, and I've been able to meet them. And my question tonight is this. Why is it a big deal when we meet people that are famous? I want you just to think about that question for a moment. I'm not looking for a direct answer, but I want you to think about that. Why is it a big deal to us when we meet someone that is famous? And it's very interesting to kind of let that process through and kind of think about it because, what is this big deal? Well, this big deal is because this person has done something or has accomplished something that allows them to be not like us. They've reached a point that we haven't reached. They've done something that we haven't done. And I was thinking about this, and I did some research, and I was wondering, what are the top jobs right now for teens in 2020? What is the one thing that teens are looking to do in 2020? And so there's a study group called First Choice Study, and they did this big study across 2019, 2020 of teens, and here are the top jobs that students, teenagers, kids today are going after. Number 1, YouTuber. They want to be a YouTuber. Number 2, a blogger or vlogger. Blogger or vlogger. Number 3, a musician or a singer. Number 4, an actor or actress. Number 5, a TV presenter. Number 6, an athlete. So let me go run through this again. YouTuber, blogger, vlogger, musician, singer, actor, actress, TV presenter, athlete. And then the final ones that were after all of those was a teacher, a doctor, a writer, a lawyer, or a police officer or fireman. All right. So let's review this list and just think about this for a moment. The very top ones that we're talking about, a YouTuber, a blogger, musician, actor, TV presenter, athlete, all of these, they're very good. But the one thing we know about this is the one thing that comes with a lot of these, if you're good at what you do, is fame. Right? Fame, being the center of attention, having this famous aspect of it. It's safely to say that the number one priority of teens right now when it comes to job is really one thing. We want to be famous. We want to be famous. We want to be known. And some of you are like, oh, no, I don't want to be known. You're a liar. Straight up. I say that because every day you probably check your phone to see if you're getting more Instagram followers, if you're getting more views on Snapchat. Some of you are looking to see if you're getting more, on Facebook. Do you have more friend requests and more friend requests? And what's interesting tonight is we're going to talk about one of the oldest stories in the Bible, and we're going to talk about how people wanted to get famous. And it's important for us to understand that there are people even out here today, they will do a lot of things to try to become famous. Whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, sports, whatever it is, being on The Voice, whatever it is, people are willing to do ridiculous things in order to be famous. And it's really wild. Well, I don't know if you know this, but when the internet first came out, like way back when it first came out, there was actually there wasn't anything that like YouTube or anything like that. But there was one lady who decided that she was just gonna film herself all of the time for like months upon her life, and she had thousands and thousands of viewers that would just simply check in, and here she was doing homework, here she was, doing yard work, here she was cooking, here she was doing this and that, and people just watched this lady for years just live their life, and this is where everything kind of began to change a little bit, where average people were like, man, I can become famous, I can do some crazy things. Now, we've all watched people on YouTube that started out one way and then started getting more viewers, and now they become famous. We've seen people on TikTok that have started with very few, and now they have thousands and thousands of people that are following them. And so what's crazy to me is that you can actually pay to get more followers. You can actually go on to programs on the internet to pay to get more likes. So now we are so desperate to have people follow us, and we're so desperate to be liked and be known that we will go and pay money to try to get more likes on a video. We will go and try to pay money to get more likes on an Instagram thing. And I'm thinking about how this is just absolutely crazy. This is wild. So let's bring it into the biblical sense that we're going to talk about, because last week we talked about Noah's Ark. Remember, we talked about the dove, and we talked about the raven, and what it means to have dove's feet, and what it means to be able to live spiritually, and what it means to be able to live righteously, and what it means to be able to live the right way. We talked about how Noah's family was the only family that was saved from destruction of the world. That was it. His family was it. They were saved. They were in this boat with all these animals, and that's what it became, and that's what happened, and they were saved. God placed a rainbow in the sky. We talked all about this, that there was covenant that he would never, ever flood the earth again. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the next part of this story. Because we want to talk about here, when God started the world over, he said, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go, and I need you to go and scatter yourself across the world. I need you to go and do some amazing things all over the world. But there was only one little problem. The people did not follow the direction of God. So let's jump into this in Genesis chapter 11, verse 1. It says, now the whole world had one language and a common speech. They said to each other, come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. And they used bricks instead of stone and tar for mortar. And they said, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens. I want you to remember this part right here I'm about to read to you. So that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth. So when we read this, we see that God said, listen, I need you to go and I need you to spread yourself out. I need you to scatter. People said, no, we're not going to do that. They all spoke the same language at this point, and they said, what we're going to do is we are going to build a tower, because the people wanted to be known. We read in this verse, they said, let us build ourselves a city, a tower that reaches to the heavens so that we can make ourselves known. See, wanting to be famous and wanting to be known has been an issue for mankind for thousands and thousands of years. They basically wanted to build this monument that says, hey, look at me. Look how amazing we are. Look how wonderful we are. Look at all the great stuff that we are doing. Look at all of me. And they literally built this physical structure that would testify of their greatness. When I was thinking about what this looks like, it would really look like a monument that's built for me. It's the me monument. Think about it. We build monuments for people that do incredible things. We build monuments for people that are able to accomplish things that are absolutely amazing and wonderful. We have all these different monuments, but these people, they wanted to build a monument that was to me. Rather than having someone else be able to voice the success, rather than having someone else say about the great things that they do, they said, no, we are going to let people know how great we are. The monument of me. How amazing and wonderful I am, how great I am. I love me, I am great, I am good. The whole mindset was based around me. What is wild is we actually have a whole social culture We have a whole entire world right now where our culture is all based about the monument of me. I want you to think about this for a moment tonight. Think about the things that we have in our life, the things that we are most active on, the apps that are on our phone, the things that we do. We are so driven to have this monument of me known for people. We want people to know how great and how amazing we are. I talked about it in the beginning, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, even Facebook. It's all about how many likes can I get? How many views can I get? How do I make myself known so people can know me? How can people understand from all over that I am wonderful, that I am great, that I do so many cool things? How can people know about me? And we talked about how this thing has affected our culture, that we are so driven that people will know who we are, and the monument of me will grow higher and higher. So our social media has become the monument of me. The monument of me. And you know what's crazy is Rob and I were talking about it before it even started. Sometimes, even when you're trying to be humble and modest, you catch yourself still showing, hey, this is about me. Oh, I'm just going to take this modest post of me helping feed the homeless. I'm going to take this modest post of me passing these gifts out to people that need it. But you're still taking the attention upon who you are and what you are doing. Man, guys, listen to me. We are so obsessed with me. We are so obsessed with ourselves. We are so concerned with ourselves and how we are as people. And when we're reading this story in the Bible in Genesis chapter 11, you got to think that this affected a whole entire city. And what had just happened prior to this? Well, there was a flood that wiped out everyone. God had just finished destroying the world with a massive flood. He had just got done with this whole process of a restart and redoing for mankind, and says, like, hopefully they'll get it right this time. I promise I won't destroy them. But even after this hard reset, even after this huge flood that wipes out everyone, mankind says, oh, we're still not going to listen to you. We're still not going to be obedient. We're still not going to leave. But what we're going to do is we're going to build a monument to me. We're going to build this monument, this tower, where everything's going to be so high it reaches the heavens that everyone can rejoice and say how great that we are. I can only imagine how God is thinking and feeling right now. I just gave you a second chance and you're already messing up this fast. Like, you're already messing this up this quickly. And up until this point, you got to understand where it says, now the whole world had one language and one common speech. Meaning there was one common language that everyone spoke, everyone was able to understand. It's not like we have different languages today where we understand some things we don't know. Back then, everyone understood each other. There was no different languages. There was no language schools. Everyone understood everyone, and they said, you know what, we're going to build this tower, and everyone was in agreement. See, the people of earth had become very skilled at the building and being able to develop as a culture. By building the tower, they said, we are going to make a name for ourselves. And I want you to understand this. They directly disobeyed what God had asked them to do. God said, I want you to go and scatter the earth and multiply and cultivate the earth. And they said, no, we are staying in one spot. We're building a tower, and we're making it about me. So this is what God says, and this is a crazy verse, but I love it. Going on to verse 5, it says this, but the Lord came down to see the city and to see the tower that they were building. The Lord said, well, if as one people speaking the same language, they've begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. He said, come, let us go down and confuse their language so they won't understand that. So they will not understand each other. Did you catch that? Literally, it says this, and this is a cool verse. Literally, it says, the Lord is going down to check out and see the city and what is being built. And we were talking about this in the office yesterday. Why did God have to go down and see? Why did God have to go down and stop to see what was going on in the city? It's God. He kind of knew what they were building. He knows what's going on. He's God. Well, I think for God, it was one of these things like, I got to really see this, and I'm going to physically come down and check to see if this is real. Like, are these people really doing this? Like, are they really this disobedient? Are they really so far gone that they're missing the concept that this isn't about them, but it's about me? And so it says that the Lord went down, and then he confused all of their languages. And so rather than everyone being able to understand one another, what he did is he confused everyone. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been to other countries, and it is very hard to speak to someone who speaks another language that you know nothing about. I mean, I have traveled a few places around the world. I've been in Russia. I've been in Germany. I've been at several different places where people are speaking to me, and I have no idea what they're saying. So years ago when I was in college, I went to college not far from Boston, the city of Boston. And so oftentimes we would go down on the weekend to Boston, and we would go and we'd check out all different areas of the city. And this one weekend, we decided to go down to the Italian district. And this actually happens to me a lot when I go places. People just look at me and assume you're Italian. And that's what most people think. They look at me, they assume I'm Italian. So we go down to this Italian district, and they had this one shop that had some of the best pastries and cannolis and cakes that I have ever tasted in my entire life. There was this little Italian grandmother. She was from Italy. She was kind of running the shop. She made everything from scratch. So you know when grandma makes it from scratch, you know it's going to be good. You know it's going to be good. So I go in there, and we begin to we all kind of scatter, and we look around, and I find myself over at the cannoli case, and I'm looking at the cannolis, and this grandmother begins to speak to me in Italian. And she is firing up. She is fast. She's talking super fast to me. And I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me, and I don't know what to do. You ever been in that situation when someone starts talking to you and you don't understand, and you're like, this just got weird? Because guess what? It just got weird. And so she gets louder, and she begins to yell, and I'm like, and so finally I had to tell this girl came out. I was like, I don't speak any Italian at all. And this lady was so upset that because she could have swore that I was Italian, and she was yelling at me, and then she just kind of went off to the back room. And I was like, man, that was a weird experience. I'll take 4 cannolis and I'll do this. And I went on and ordered and did everything. But it was a very awkward situation to not be able to understand someone. And can I just be honest? Even some of you use words that I have no idea what you're talking about. None whatsoever. So I have to have people, and Ryan and I have talked about this, we have to have like Zeth and Akil and other leaders interpret for us the words that are being used. And I got a few words for you tonight. First one, snatched. I love those sneakers. They are so snatched. What is that? What is that? Snatched. Like, I never even heard of that before. Snatched, like, oh, those are so snatched. No, like, snatched to us is like, if you get mouthy with me, I'm going to snatch you up. That's what snatch was for us back in the day. You keep running your mouth, I'm going to snatch you up and send you to your room. But now it's one of those terms, it's actually a compliment. I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then I was looking at, as I continued to read through these words, like, I had, like, Finsta. I was like, Finsta? I don't even know, like, is that like a drink? Is it a new soda? All that. I had to learn that Finsta is actually like a fake, hidden Instagram account from your parents. Like when you have an Instagram account you don't want your parents to know about, it's a Finsta. And I'm just finding these things out. So any parents that are watching right now, if you want to know, Finsta is the account that your kid has that they don't want you to know about. That's what Finsta is. But I have all these kids talking to me about Finsta this, Finsta that, Finsta that. I'm like, I have no idea. And then the next one was this, no cap. No cap. See, y'all know about that. And that literally means for real. Like when it was, it'd be for real. And then it's like, no cap. And I'm like, what are you even talking about right now? No cap. What is that? Like a cap that you wear? Like what are we? And I'm having to look these up and say, guys, like, can you explain these to me? Like, what does, no cap mean? No, but I will say my favorite expression right now is, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm like looking at this. I'm dead refers to the fact that you laugh so hard that you're dead. Like that something is so funny that you died. Like I'm like, that's great. And then there is the one word that we use a lot around here. It's a very common word. Some of us have it, some of us don't. And it's drip. Drip. Respect the drip. Respect the drip. Karen. I love that too, Karen. We're like, what did Karen ever do to you? But all of a sudden we're like, Karen, you're the problem with the world. Karen, you know, I literally saw a post that said 2020 is Karen's fault. Like, okay, but anyhow, so there are all these words that we use that, like, when you can't understand someone, think about this. When you can't understand someone, it becomes very frustrating. You ever try to talk to someone, they don't understand you, and then you start getting upset, and you start getting mad? And I mean, you can do this with anyone that can't communicate right with you. You might even have friends that you're friends with, and half the time you don't know what they're saying. You have no idea. You just laugh. Because you're like, I have no idea what you're doing right now. I have no clue what you're talking about. But oftentimes, think about this for a second though. Majority of the fights that we get in with people is because we don't know how to communicate properly with them. So the majority of our fights, the majority of the things that we get into are all based on communication. Because even the slightest dialect of how you say something can change the whole thing. Like, you can be in an argument with someone and you can be like, yeah, or you can be like, yeah. Now, I'm not saying go home and do this to your parents or anything, but when they're talking to you and if you're like, yeah, they're like, okay, they understand. But as soon as you go, yeah, game over. It's done. It's done. Understand that it's done. Like, you can't, like, so think about all the fights we get in, all the problems that we have is a communication issue. And we get so frustrated when people can't communicate. Well, so what God does is God looks at all these humans are doing. He's like, oh, you want to build a tower. Oh, you want to reach the heavens. You want people to know who you are. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to confuse your language. And then it says that so the Lord scattered them over all of the earth, and they had to stop building the city because they could not communicate. And that is why this was called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of an entire city, and from that point forward, the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. You know what I have learned this? I have learned that when people become famous and people become obsessed with themselves and people are all about who they are, sometimes they get really big heads. Sometimes they get really big heads, and they begin to act like they are the best thing that is out there. You ever been around people like that? Just because they do something small, they think they got it. They think they have it all. They think that they're the best thing that is out there. And the truth is, that's not how it's meant to be. The truth is, that's not how we are called to be. The only problem is that there's only one God. There's only one that is in true control. And in the pursuit to become famous, we think that certain things don't apply to us. See, when the people started speaking one language, what happened? They began to build a city, and they began to build this monument of me. As soon as God separated them in their language, they stopped because they couldn't communicate. See, the word Babel means confusion. So this was a tower of confusion that ended up happening. Why? Because God said, if you're not about me, then you're not going to be about anything else. If you continually think that this is all about you, if you continue to think that life is all revolved around how great you are, I'm going to cause confusion in your words. I'm going to cause confusion in what you do, and it's not going to be about you anymore. Why did God do this? God did this because they became very prideful in who they were. See, Proverbs 16:18 says something very, very interesting. Throw that out there. First pride, then the crash. The bigger the ego, the harder the fall. Another version says pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before the fall. See, we have to understand that when we choose to be prideful over being humble, when we choose to think that it's all about us rather than other people, you're going to crash and you're going to fall hard. Because one day you're going to learn that that's not how this is about. This is not what this is for. This is not how this goes. Changing their language was what God did in order to deal with their pride. You see, God hates pride. Let's just be real. God hates pride. And what's crazy is they had a chance to do amazing things. They had the chance to be able to have a restart where they were able to do amazing, wonderful things with this restart that God gave them. But what they chose to do is they chose to say, it's about me and not about God. And as soon as we choose to say it's about us and not about God, we have missed what it's about. We have missed what this whole aspect of being a Christian and loving God is all about, because it's about serving God, not about serving ourselves. And in this, God said, listen, you continue to have this pride, this is what's going to happen. See, the way you can be humble is by realizing that everyone is special to God, that God loves everyone, and each one of us might be good at some things, but you can be sure that each person is going to be different. Each person is going to have an ability to be good at other things that certain people are not at. And just because you are better at something than someone else, it doesn't mean that you are better than them. It doesn't mean that you are more valuable. Because remember, we've taught this, that God sees us all valuable. God sees this value that goes across the world. God sees each and every one of us with the value that we have in our life. No one is more valuable than anyone. A kid that has a disability, a kid that has a handicap, a person that does, just because they have a handicap doesn't mean that God sees them as less or as not as good as he sees us. There is a value that God attributes on each and every one of our lives. After all, pride is a lot of trouble. So this is the way I thought about this. Rather than building a memorial of me, I need to build an altar to God. I need to build something that gives God the glory and not me. I need to be able, and what do I mean by that? In a few weeks, we're going to talk about what it means to build an altar, and we're going to look at the story of Abraham and Isaac, and it's a crazy story that we're going to dive into. But what I want you to understand tonight is this, that when we try to live a life that builds the memorial of me, we've missed what this is all about. We've missed that this life isn't about just me, but it's about me serving others, and it's about me loving others. And rather than the monument of me, let's build an altar to God. Let's bow your heads and close your eyes for a moment. Before we jump into our groups tonight, I want you just to answer one question to yourself. I want you to evaluate who you are, and I want you to answer one question. Have you been building a monument of me? Has the life that you have lived and how you have done things and the choices that you make in this life right now, have they all been based on the fact that I want people to know me? This is about me, all about me, and not about God. See, what's cool about us guys is as Christians, we have this opportunity to show the world something different. We have this opportunity to show the world what someone who follows after God is really like. And it's not what people think, because oftentimes people think of Christians and like, oh man, those guys, they're the worst. They're hypocrites, they're liars. What? Yeah, we do screw up. Yeah, we do make mistakes. But as Christians, we have the most perfect opportunity to love people the way that God does. So look at an equality across the board. It says, no, God values everyone. God sent his son Jesus for everyone so that everyone will know who he is. And so tonight, is the monument about me, or is it about building an altar unto God? That altar that we lay things down and say, okay, each and every day this is a battle. Each and every day my pride needs checked. Each and every day this is something I have to do. We need to constantly be reminded, guys, that pride is a daily battle that we have to face. And so tonight, if you're someone that deals with pride, if you're someone that deals with the monument of me, as I pray tonight, you can pray along with me. And then after we're done with prayer, we'll split off into our groups. Heavenly Father, I thank you and praise you for tonight. But God, I'm just going to be real with you tonight and say that I struggle. That I have this issue of wanting to build a monument of me. I have this problem where I want it to be about me all the time, and I want people to know how great I am, and I want the focus on me, and I don't really have this focus on you. Rather than letting you take the stage, I try to steal the show. So God, I pray tonight that you will put me in check and help me realize that this life that you've given to me, this opportunity, is to show people the love of God, to show people how great you are, to show people how wonderful you are. So God, I pray tonight that you will change us, you'll challenge us, you'll renew us. God, that you will help us keep our pride in check and that we will be able to fall deeper in love with you more than ever before. We thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. And everyone said, amen. Amen.